You guys. Too far. It's not quite right, but you can never get it right, you know? Well, I thought I'd do an update. Thought I'd do an update. I said a long time ago in one of my videos that, if I never had glasses, would I still have social anxiety or would it have been as bad as it was? Because I started losing my vision fairly quickly around age 7. And I don't know what the reasons are for losing vision as a child. I certainly can't go back in time and test things to see if I could have avoided that scenario. Um, I know things kind of have a balance to them, and if you take the time to understand, you can see the patterns. So, for whatever reason, it could have been malnutrition. I had lactose intolerance I didn't know that I had until much later. And even when I knew, even when I discovered it, trial and error, I'm starting to notice a pattern here every time I have this stuff. But I was sick all the time, so I couldn't attribute it to anything. It seemed like everything I ate made me sick, so I didn't know what it was. I felt like it was just me. I didn't feel like something I was eating was causing it. I, like I thought my body was just this way because it was always like that. So I probably had absorption problems and nutritional deficiencies and stuff. But my anxiety was the worst of the worst, right? I couldn't handle the chaos. I was trying to figure things out, and going by my internal feeling and going by what people are telling me, it added up to bad things. So it took a long time to work through that stuff, and it's still there. I mean, I haven't forgotten. I've just adapted. You know, try not to let things bother me as much. Still does. There are different reasons for things. I keep track of a lot of things, or I try to, even though I don't want to. Um, I mean, I feel deeply that my life is a joke or a waste. Um, and I feel like it's not my fault, but, of all the things that I can control, then I'm going to do the best I can. Use my body, use my intelligence to solve problems. But some problems are beyond my control, and I don't know. Just try not to let things bother me. Beyond the anxiety, it was chronic pain, which I believe was there all along, but got really bad. I don't know why these things happen to me, but um, like the past 5 years have been just torturous amounts of pain. And, I can try to explain what it feels like, but it doesn't, there isn't a word for explaining pain. It's like some pain is, everybody understands pain, right? Nobody likes it. But it's like a volume type of thing. You can turn the pain up even more and more and more, and it becomes torturous. And that's no good. But to have to be stuck in pain, lots of pain for long periods of time, is also very torturous. And yeah, again, I don't know why this happened. I just know that for some reason my body needs the attention. It needs me to consciously help it along with my, use my brain to consciously activate these muscles. And the more I do that, the more life they get. But if I ignore them, that it struggles to compensate. I don't know if there's other deeper injuries or some spinal cord issue or a nervous system issue. I don't know why. That is the case, but doing a regular 9 to 5 job is hard on my body. I mean, everything is hard on my body, but I mean, I should say it's not that it's more like if I don't do the exercise, if I don't take the time to stretch, if I don't decompress, it builds up, and it gets to a point where I cannot function. And that's what happened 7, 6, 5 years ago, 4, right? It dialed up even more and more and more until I lost my functioning. And it got worse. It got progressively worse until I went to that deep, dark place where you have to just push with everything you got to get your muscles to activate one day at a time. And all of that is extremely traumatic, like emotionally, mentally. It's tough to deal with that. But there's no choice. The pain is too much, way too much. But what happens is I'm doing my job and I go, yeah, it's my shoulder, my back, yeah, my legs, right? I can feel it, but I can still do the job. I can still do the job. And then it's like, oh, now I'm getting headaches. My headaches are more frequent. I guess I could still do the job, but these headaches are really bad, right? and I don't know how I'm going to prevent them from happening. I don't know how to fix them. So you keep doing the work, and then the headaches are starting to become more intense and more frequent, and then it looks bad. Now it's like, uh-oh, approaching the end of the road. And yeah, I mean, that's what happens. You get headaches every single day, easily triggered, easily triggered, easily triggered. I can't even do little things. I'm slow, careful movements, and I'm still triggering the headache. And I'm like this. And, it's torturous, torturous. So I had to stop working. And, the pain continued to get worse even after I stopped working because now my mind had shifted. You know, what I was doing to keep myself going was, staying focused on what I'm doing. I have to, and then stop. And now my body's like, oh, like pain just everywhere, just spread all over the place, right? Um, and there's no help for that in our society. There is nobody to help you. I'm sad to report that that is the case. Um, Certainly the intelligence exists, but I don't know what's happening, but there is no help for that. If it exists, I don't know where it is. So to crawl out of severe chronic pain, the first thing is that there is no knowing, there is no reassurance that you can beat this. It feels like it's impossible. It feels like there's no way out. It feels like a trap. And essentially, what you have to do is work on one area at a time and use conscious thought, conscious attention to send a signal to that muscle or muscle group. You know, the exact order doesn't really matter. I went by whatever was screaming the loudest, that I would try to send signals down my leg or whatever and try to get my muscle to fire, try to get the muscle to contract, no matter how much it hurt, no matter how much additional pain came. I would try to get it to adapt. And the first time that you do that, it doesn't actually do anything. I mean, not that you can feel. You can't feel what it's doing, but you have to just try to concentrate on firing your, in my case, my calf muscles were really bad. Everything was really bad, but the calf muscles held a lot of pain. A lot of tension goes there. And it's still the case, right? I'm still fighting this battle. But focus on one area at a time. Give it all you got every day. Essentially at least a half hour every day. Give one good, long, hard push and concentrate with all you got. It takes a lot out of you. It's very difficult. It's very uncomfortable. It's very painful. But that is the work that you have to do to get your body to adapt. You have to consciously take control, use the executive power, and send the message down. And you can only do one thing at a time. The things that you work on create pain in other areas because your body has to maintain a balance. So if I'm working up here, then I'm moving down here and I'm trying to hold a position, and they don't function anymore. They don't function very well at all. And then more pain is being sent to those areas. So when you lose all this functioning from top to bottom, it gets really bad. It gets really painful. And you have to literally crawl your way out of it. That's what I had to do. I was on my hands and knees trying to get strength back in my body. I was on my back. I was on my hands and knees, crawling my way back. Yeah, essentially, it's like an infant, right? They learn to walk by crawling. First they crawl, then they stand, and you have to retrain the body like that. You have to build stability. You have to, get muscles firing up here, down there, and get them to adapt. Stretching, but it's a lot of contracting of the muscles, manual contracting of the muscles. Squeeze it and hold it, and pay attention to the change in the sensation. What you want is for the muscle to hold itself. It to move, to stretch the full range, and then just drop naturally. But it won't do that. It won't do that for a very long time. So what you're doing is using your body's resources to send the messages, send the blood flow, send the energy to these muscles to wake them up and help heal the tissue, help heal the area, help, tell the body, I need to use this, I need to use this, I need to use this, and keep coming back to it. That's the way to beat severe chronic pain, at least caused by whatever caused mine. I couldn't tell you. I have an MRI that says I have disc injury in my neck and disc injury in my low back, which are the two most common areas. But I couldn't tell you when they started, how long it was there. I would guess a long time. I would guess they've been there since childhood. But I don't know. But I stopped working November 8th, 2021, and I returned to New York in January 2022. And I have been rehabilitating every day since then. It is March 15th, 2025. And I have made progress, significant progress. I'm still not functioning very well, but I can do basic things. I'm just monitoring pain, stretching, working on these areas, still coming back to them, coming back to them, coming back to them. I'm doing it as I'm talking. I'm working on my right calf right now because it's tense. I have to manually do this to help the tissue clean itself. There is not a real there's not a good effort by my body here to clean itself up. It's something is wrong. So I have to get all this. I have to keep doing this until I feel like everything's working correctly as one unit. I've had trouble predicting. How this is going to get better, even as I can see the progress that's happening. I'm like, well, I think this is going to happen next, but then it's not what I think it is, because of the way the sensations of the body. It doesn't really tell you what to do. It doesn't tell you the information you need to know. It doesn't give you indications of warning signals or anything. But what I've had to do is look at the pain as an alarm system, right? Rather than being afraid of the pain, which is what I was, before this time period. I was always afraid of pain, right? I say, oh, that hurts. I better avoid doing that, right? I have to watch my movements or whatever. Instead of looking at pain as something you want to avoid, which, sounds like it makes sense. You have to look at pain as the body it's setting off an alarm. Something is going on with this general area, and it may not be the area that's causing it. It may be, I may have extra tension in one area because another area needs to be tended to. So what I am finding is, as I work on certain things and I release pressure in some area, it'll automatically move to another area and release a little bit of something. I'll get a twitch, I'll get something, some kind of response, and it'll be seemingly unrelated to what I just worked on. So, for instance, I work on my left quad, and then my right neck starts twitching after I got a good stretch out of my left quad. And I got a fair amount of movement out of the muscle. It takes a little pressure off the nerves, and then the messages travel somehow, and it tells my neck that it can start to release now, right? Which is really strange to me because I don't know how it's related, but everything is connected through the nervous system and the spine. Everything travels out and messages are sent pretty quickly. And I have not been able to speed this up. It is a really slow, progressive pace for overcoming this kind of problem. The first couple of years, I still felt tortured and hopeless. It was really the third year that I started feeling um, that I'm actually starting to make significant progress. The first year was so torturous because my mind was not still. My mind was racing, and I had so much junk in my head that I couldn't even mentally process what was going on with my body. I couldn't sync up to my body and really even listen, really even begin to listen to what it was saying. So I had to do a dual therapy kind of, and process my mind and pay attention to my body, come back, mind, body, trying to process um, trauma or stress, things that I had been through. I had to do one and then the other and one and the other, and it's a nightmare. I mean, there's no other words for this. It's torturous nightmare. I mean, really, really, really bad, right? Like there are no words to explain this. Um, but the second year I was synced to my body, but I couldn't do anything about it. Not real. I mean, progress was still happening, but not measurable. I could not feel when your muscles, really go dormant like that, then you lose those sensations. So you don't know what's happening even when you're trying to squeeze. You can feel the pain increase temporary, but you don't feel like you have your muscle back at all. It doesn't feel normal at all. It feels bad. But in that third year, I started noticing that I was regaining sensations. And I still am. I'm in the process of regaining sensations, normal sensations. Oh, there's my muscle. There's my body. It's working. It still feels really messed up. Tissue is knotty. It's tight. It's imbalanced. But it's starting to come back, and I can feel that. The other thing is you can see my face has color. My cheeks are a little bit red, and that's normal. That's typical for me. But I could not flush. I did not feel any sensation of flushing in the face until about 2 to 3 weeks ago. I regained that sensation after 5 years. Yeah, first thing is that my armpits and stuff started, the tissue around there started moving, and I was sweating more. I could feel the sensation of sweat. A lot of elimination was happening even when I wasn't exercising or I was just sitting here. Like all of a sudden, like it was communicating better, it was flowing better. The natural process for elimination was occurring. circulation to my face came back again about 3 weeks ago. There's still probably more to come, I'm sure, but it was nice to get that back. Oh, I forgot to mention going to the bathroom at the worst times. Going to the bathroom was difficult for a while, very difficult. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you can see on this camera, but there's a scar. There's a scar on my head because I was going to the bathroom, and the um, just the act of going to the bathroom was enough to put so much pressure in that area that I started getting extremely dizzy, right? Because my muscles were all messed up down there and everywhere else. But going to the bathroom put so much pressure in that area that I got really dizzy. And then when I stood up, I collapsed and I hit my head on the counter. I didn't pass out. I was like, whoa, what the heck was that? Like, you know, that's an example of how bad it gets when you lose this kind of functioning. The tissue is inefficient, your movement is greatly inhibited, but even basic functions that the body needs, like elimination that you would do every day, is inhibited. It's too hard for your body to do it, you know. So large amounts of pain, you know, dizziness, feeling like you're trapped inside your body and there's no way out. Nobody cares. People around you don't hear you, they don't understand, right? They can't see what you feel. It's impossible to explain it in words. The more you try to explain, the more you realize they can't fucking understand what you're saying. The more frustrated you feel, and you don't want to be frustrated. You don't want to hold anything else. You just want this to go away. Right? These are the this is the battle of severe chronic pain. It's hellish. So again, 3 weeks ago, there's other elimination, right? The tissue sweats, your sweat glands. I mean, I don't know, I don't understand how the body works, but I knew as I regained the functioning that this was a good thing because my body odor came back. I didn't even have body odor, but I mean maybe a little bit, but it came back and it was stronger than it's ever been. And I'm not working out. I'm not doing anything that I used to do where I used to sweat very easily. And I can still sweat very easily, but I can't do the things that make me sweat very easily. Um, as soon as I get that functioning back, I will be doing those things. But my point is that the body odor came back and it was very strong. And I'm like, whoa, like I'm not even doing it. I'm just sitting here. And I've been doing the same routine for, well over 3 years. And this just happened. This just came back. This is a new development. And my body is actually trying to eliminate all this toxic buildup that's probably stored in my tissue because it was inefficient at eliminating, right? There are natural processes that happen. And when things get stuck, then it gets harder. It gets, so my body's got to clear this stuff out, right? It takes time. My teeth, my gums are constantly irritated, and I've been trying to figure that out. This movement from my neck to my face, stretching out these muscles on the side of my face, twitches up here, twitches over here, twitches, I'm hoping that that's going to help with my gums because they're too inflamed. And I think the added circulation makes a big difference. And they'll be able to heal better. Elimination, circulation, these are normal functionings, normal things that you need that you're not aware of because your body takes care of this stuff. And when you lose this functioning, it gets, it's a downward spiral type of thing. I'm still paying attention to a lot of things. I have to pay attention to all these changes. I'm trying to make sure this doesn't ever happen. If I get out of this, I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm trying to understand, you know, what are the patterns? What can I observe? What's my best working theory as to why this happens? Um, the more I understand it, the better. I worked on machines, which are engineered, even complicated machines that are engineered a certain way. Every component has a function, right? You can look at the body similarly, the human body, and say, well, every component has a function, but I never really did that. I never really carried an understanding. But as my body has, shut down in a way, and I'm fighting to get it back, I can see the changes and I go, well, this was doing this and I lost it. And now I'm trying to get it back. And I go, well, I guess it's important, right? You realize how important all this is. The connective tissue is important. These muscles can really take a beating and come back to life, and it's pretty incredible. But when they are stiff, it hurts. When they are stuck, they're just squeezing, and the nerve pressure, it never turns off. The pain doesn't turn off. And of course, I have headache problems, and that's the worst of the worst in terms of, the sensation of pain. My calves are bad, right? But compared to a headache, it's nothing. The headache is torturous, and some of the headaches are not quite as strong as the worst of the worst, but for a while it was just a routine that I had to get 10 out of 10 headaches several times a week, and it's 8 to 12 hours of duration every time it triggers. So you just want to die all the time, because it's like there's no point of doing this. It's torture. It's extreme amounts of pain. And it took a very long time, and I'm still working on it in order to mitigate, in order to prevent these headaches. And I have to be careful with my movement, but I can do it. And the more I push on I work on, certain muscles, the more strain it puts. And then, like today, I had a headache because I've been stretching my legs and my groin muscles and my glutes. I'm really working on those because they need to come back. And I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer, but you know, doing it though, if I work on it for a long time, it puts a lot of pressure, elsewhere, and it gets to my neck. My neck has to be fixed, but I feel like the bottom has to come first. My back muscles don't move very easily. Um, but if I could take the pressure off of the pelvis and have it do its job, then maybe it'll give me my neck back. It'll hold correctly. But I had a mild headache, not a severe one today. I understand the patterns. I understand, what movements do what. I've become very aware in that respect, because I've had to pay attention to all these sensations and fight my way out of it. But yeah, these are this is how the body works and how it doesn't work, right? It's not common knowledge. This was never talked about in school. A lot of things were said, and I kept track of a lot of the things that were said. And this was not one of them. And I guess there was no resource to solve this problem. There's a lot of people that, will try things, but nobody who understands. And that's really messed up. And I guess that's the reason why I feel compelled to make a video, because I know that I won't be able to solve your chronic pain problem, but I can certainly tell you how I'm crawling out of mine. And consciously fight through each thing one day at a time. And just concentrate on it. Really concentrate, focus, get the muscle to adapt and follow. It's sort of there's an art to the amount of pressure you want to put on it. You don't want to you don't want to contract as hard as possible. You want to contract it to get it activated, and then you kind of want to ride the pressure. Add a little bit of contraction till the pain sensation, kind of like you're riding a wave. You want to have a balance to it. If you go too hard too quickly, then it can lock up on you. That's not comfortable either. You want to contract it, put medium pressure on it and just hold it and ride it out, and then make conscious adjustments as it's moving, and just kind of go with the flow. And go as long as you can take it, right? A few minutes probably. a few minutes at a time. You can come back to it after you rest for a little bit, and it starts to get easier. Um, but like I said, when it's at its worst, when it's really, really bad, it's not fun at all. My groin, everything, all that, my testicles, right? I don't want to get too fucking, but it hurts, right? It hurts. All the pressure pushed in certain areas. I didn't even realize that I pressure like deep in my stomach muscles. For a while, I lost my ability to breathe very well because the muscles close to my diaphragm were so locked tight. I couldn't get good breaths. And it took me about 6 months to get that to come back. And that was the first year that I started rehabilitating. It took about 6 months to get my breath back. And that was the first indication that, okay, that's good. Because we need to breathe. It felt much better, once those muscles, relaxed enough to get a better breath. But I was already having sleep problems. I couldn't sleep. I was in pain all the time. I still do, right? I still do have sleep problems, but I'm significantly better than it was. I just have to be careful when I wake up. I've learned that I wake up when my body says you have to wake up. What inevitably happens is 8 hours of sleep is too long for my body to be in that position. And there's no other positions that are better than, you pick the most comfortable position you can sleep in and go with it and ride it out as long as you can. Eventually, all this tension starts moving while you're sleeping, and then the pain starts dialing up more and more until it wakes you up. And then, you say, I'll ignore it, right? Go back to sleep. And then it gets really much worse. I've learned that when it wakes me up, just get up, even though I didn't get a good sleep session. Some hours are better than no hours, and it's better not to fight it. That's what I've learned. It's just because if you ignore it, the muscles, it takes time to get these muscles to take the pressure off, stretch a different way, move the tension a little bit this way for now, right? It takes time for that to happen. And if your body wakes you up in pain and you just say, I'll ignore it and go back to sleep, and that extra hour or whatever you get is not worth it, because it'll just take much long. It'll be much tighter when you wake up the next time. It'll take all day to try to get it back. Yeah. It's a nightmarish battle. My advice is, if you're already in this battle, my advice is to pay attention to your body. Get to know these sensations, understand the pain, understand that pain is a sensor that is firing like an alarm bell, right? It's okay to push through pain. It's okay to contract these muscles, which may increase pain locally for a temporary period of time. It's okay to do that because that actually is what you need to do. You need to regain. You need these muscles to adapt. You're not trying to cause more pain. You're trying to get the muscle to work again. And inevitably, it does create more pain. You don't want to overdo it day to day because, again, some pain is really, really, really intolerable. It depends on what your situation is. I mean, I don't know why my body is this way, right? I can't tell you why. And I don't know if somebody else with chronic pain would feel the exact same things, or it would depends on the posture of their body. It depends on where their injuries are, what the compensation is, and the nerves will respond accordingly. So the pain is probably not going to be exactly the same from person to person, but it hurts and it's hard to overcome. Stay focused. Understand that it's a long-term battle, right? You have to have that patience. You have to take things one day at a time and say, and have some sort of mental checklist, or did I do the best I can today, and what else can I work on, what else is can I do, or what do I think is needed. And sometimes you're waiting for your body to catch up to your mind. Like, I know where I am, but I can't make it go any faster. I'm working on these muscles and they're giving me as much as they're giving me, and it's slow. So you have to you have to understand it's a long-term battle. It's a winnable battle. You got to have hope, you got to believe, you got to keep fighting, you got to stay motivated. Um, it's a you battle, right? Nobody else is going to do this. You have to do it. You can't even explain it to people. Well, this hurts, right? You got Social Security, disability, you got the doctors, you got the specialists that you go to visit. They all want you to fill out a bunch of paperwork describing your condition, and you're trying to say, I don't know. I mean, everything hurts. Fuck. I mean, everything hurts. And then they're like, well, point to the guy. There's a picture of the guy. Where on the body does it hurt? I'm like, fucking here, everywhere. Just fix it. Like, is there anybody? Can't you figure this out? Can't you run a test? But I guess not, right? I don't know how it works. You don't know how it works until you have to go through it. And apparently they just don't know. We're not good enough yet. We cannot prevent these problems, I guess. The other thing, oh, I'm still talking about advice. Yeah, long term battle, long term battle, one day at a time. Whatever you need, give it to yourself. I have tried devices like foam rollers. I have a Denerol, one for my neck, one for my back. There's a vibration plate that I've used. I have a sauna blanket, right? I've been trying many things to see what it feels like. What does it do? If I do a trial period, is it speeding anything up? Is it helping with anything? Is it not making a difference at all? I've got a TENS unit. What else? I got a bunch of things. I got acupressure mat. All these products that exist. May or may not be helpful. Essentially, what you need are the muscles to adapt. At least for my condition, it's the muscles that have to adapt. The connective tissue has to move in a better configuration. So none of these devices move your muscle. You have to consciously move it. You have to fire. Nothing works better than conscious. Um, and I'm not talking, just run around, do jumping jacks, and that's going to help it move. I don't mean like moving like this. I mean like, isolating these muscles and getting them to move on their own, getting them to twitch, getting them to fire. When they're stuck stiff, you can move your legs all you want, but you're not isolating all the correct muscles. When you move something, your body, something is helping you move, but not, all these things that are stuck, they're not involved. They're not involved in your functioning. They're involved in your pain. They're involved in squeezing your nerves so that you feel pain. So, the recovery is to try to get all this to adapt. Now, when your posture is really messed up because of the way your muscles are, and posture is not something that's necessarily super visible. I had people comment, even doctors comment, that my posture looked pretty good. And I go, it can't be good because I have all this pain. I'm propped up a certain way, but, I think if you looked at my entire skeleton, you'd find postural problems. But, if you go by the way I'm standing or it doesn't, if you only look at certain things, then you're not seeing the whole picture. But my point is that trying to get stretches when you have, all this imbalance and postural problems, trying to isolate certain muscle groups is damn near impossible. And that's what a foam roller will help do. A foam roller is actually useful for getting in weird positions and stretching weird angles. And that's okay. You need to stretch weird angles. Don't be afraid of stretching weird angles. That's what helps. That's what helps to activate the muscle. Find the edge of your range of motion and hang out there for a while and try to extend it a little bit in any area of your body. Go to where it doesn't move and then try to fire it to move. Now, if it causes extreme pain, right, then back off, right? But otherwise, if you're just like, I don't know, there's not a super amount of pain, but you get stuck there, then just hang out there. Like I'm stuck here, but just kind of hang out there and let the muscles in the surrounding area start to fire. And try to use conscious thought to pinpoint, maybe like where that stuck area is. Try to find it, try to move, try to help it along, right? And this takes practice, but this is all you have. You have all the time in the world when your body doesn't work, because you can't do anything until it does. You have to figure this, you have to sync your mind to your body, pay real close attention, and start to, think of it like you're operating a machine. Think of it like this has a function. I have a brain. I have the ability to use this. I need to help it along. I need to help it come back. So the foam roller will help you get in weird angles. Now, it may give you pain, right? Because you're in awkward angles. You may be irritating some other things while you're working on something else. But to get things started, or to get something to wake up, a foam roller is good for that. For opening up your chest and stuff, it can be good. But again, I don't use it every day. It's not solving my problem. The stretch is what solves the problem. The reactivation of the muscle and stretching them and coming back to it. That's what solves the problem. These devices are useful for certain applications, but they don't solve the problem, right? They're just, they can be quite helpful in some things depending on your issue, right? But getting to know your body, getting your mind to pay attention is more important. Yeah, it's more important for you to understand, because it's a self-heal process. You have to do the repairing, so you have to know what your body is telling you, and it takes time to get good at that. I mean, it took me a year to really sync up, and then even then I still was struggling to get it to go, and I'm still learning, right? Even now I'm learning new things, right? I'm still discovering new things. The dinner rolls, one for the neck, one for the back. I find those are good for waking up the spine. It gets a deeper stretch into the spine, whereas a foam roller cannot. It just cannot get deep enough into the spine. The shape of the dinner roll is designed to stretch each vertebra. But again, the tissue has to be corrected, and these devices don't correct the tissue. You correct the tissue. Time corrects the tissue, right? Time doesn't correct it by itself. You correct it with conscious effort, conscious thought, and coming back to it, stretching it, coming back to it, stretching it. Stretch, rest, stretch, rest, stretch, rest. Try to pay attention to the patterns. Keep working. Move to another area, come back, go to a different area, come back. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. That's what solves the problem. The devices don't solve the problem. They just help you stretch at a weirder angle, which might be useful. It might help wake up certain things. But essentially, you need the tissue to adapt. Vibration plate. All right, so the vibration plate, you stand on it and it vibrates. This will immediately highlight all your problem areas. So when you stand, like you feel some things, but you don't feel everything. But when you stand and the vibration shakes your whole body, you can feel all the tight tension areas, all the connective tissue, knots in your tissue. You can feel all of that, and it's horrible. It's like, oh my God, it's everywhere. My legs, my groin, my back, I can feel everything. And it's like, man, way to remind me of how bad I thought I was making progress, and a way to remind me that there's so much wrong with my body. But it's okay. It's a self check. Again, it doesn't solve the problem, but it can help wake things up a little bit. It can help, just shake a different angle. You just kind of stand on it and move around slowly, a little bit, lean a little bit differently. Try to put a little pressure in a certain area while it's vibrating. It might help. Um, it might help get some circulation. Might help wake it up a little bit. But it doesn't solve the problem. It's just something you can try. It's something you don't need it, but it may be something you can play with. Maybe not every day, but every so often come back to it. It's a different ball game when your muscles are functioning much better, because you can like do squats and stuff on the vibration plate. I'm not talking about other potential uses. I'm just talking about when you are completely stuck in chronic pain, widespread throughout your body, right? It could be helpful getting something to wake up a little bit, but it's not significant. It's not significant. The sauna blanket I tried. This um, this is interesting because it has some weird effect on my muscles. It makes it a little bit easier to stretch. I can feel that my muscles after I'm done, even like delayed, even like 2 hours later, like I feel like I can stretch easier. Like even like when I first come out of the sauna blanket after a half hour, 45 minute session, whatever. My whole body's been warmed at the same time, which I like. Um, but there's some kind of weird delay effect when I come out of the sauna blanket and I go to stretch right away. Like it's not that good. It's not quite as good as if I wait like 2 hours. If I wait an hour or two later, like I feel like I get more out of it then. Somehow my body's still kind of like shocked from the heat or something. I don't know. And it takes time for my muscles to kind of like, okay. And I do find that, yes, it is easier to get a stretch out of the muscles after they're warmed up like that. But again, it's not what solves the problem, it's the activation, the reactivation of all the muscles. And but it is a useful tool. I think that may be the most useful tool that I have, is a sauna blanket, just because it can accomplish something that I can't really get anywhere else. I mean, I don't have a sauna that I can access, like where you really heat the sauna blanket be the next best thing. It's, you know, less expensive, and it's like a sleeping bag, but it's plugs in and it heats up. I don't know, safety concerns. I don't know. Maybe there's just be careful with it. I don't know, but it heats up the whole body at the same time, and I think that's good, especially when you have widespread pain. But yeah, I think that's probably the most useful tool. TENS unit, I mean, basically does nothing at all. Sort of like trick your muscles into moving a little bit, but for this kind of problem, it doesn't do anything. Like a yoga ball. I've used yoga balls too. Again, that's similar to a foam roller where you can kind of hit a weird angle that you normally couldn't do because it'll hold your weight and you can kind of stretch differently, but not super useful, but it might be sometimes. It depends. Luckily, I'm getting to a point where I don't need these devices, or they're not really helpful anymore, because I can do more classic stretches, um because my body can actually hold in that position. Before, like, there's certain stretches I can't even do because um my body just can't get in that position. But I'm still kind of there, but I'm getting closer to being able to do stretches like I used to be able to do. Like nothing exotic, but like regular basic, you know, stretches that you might do in school, gym class or something. Just being able to get into the position to stretch, right? That's um, that was a challenge for quite some time. So I'm getting better. The acupressure mat, I don't know if that did anything at all. I've tried it. I can't measure any progress. I didn't notice any change. There are things that do affect the body, but you can't feel the effect. So I don't know. What else? I'm trying to think of. Sorry, I don't know. Trying to think of. I've tried like lacrosse balls and little balls and stuff that you can push into. Yeah, push things that push into your tissue, um, to combat the pain. Like, it's a little bit dangerous, but it's a little bit. it's also useful sometimes. It depends on what you're working on. Pushing into my glutes with a lacrosse ball, for example, was a colossal mistake. I I did it twice and really bad twice. Like it sent like the worst sensations. I had pain like you know, I had pain for days after pushing in to my glutes. Yeah, that was a mistake. I don't know if it would still do it if I tried it now because my glutes have moved a little bit. You know, I'm not sure, but I don't. I'll use a lacrosse ball on my back. Some of those spots on my back that are really locked up. But again, it's the stretching that solves the problem. It's reactivating the tissue and stretching. And you simply cannot activate some tissue until other tissue has been worked on. That's the huge lesson I think that is in all of this is the body has its own way of locking up tissue and unlocking that tissue. So, like I said, if I work on my leg, all of a sudden it unlocks my neck or one little spot in my neck and I go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" Or my throat. I did that one time. I was working on my leg and then something in my throat caught. I turned my head and all of a sudden it caught in my throat. I'm like, "Oh my God, what is that?" I didn't even feel it there before. And then I stretched it all the way out. It went all the way from my throat to my ear. And it even pulled like in my ear. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know that was there, right? I didn't even feel it. But it was needed and it would not unlock until I worked on my leg. So that's sort of the trick is like you'll feel pain in your back and then you'll say, well, let me work on that spot, but it won't ever resolve. And it's because other spots need to be worked on first. The nervous system has its own way of locking things up and it'll unlock it once you do the other things eventually. And it may take years before you can get to that spot. That's the other hard lesson is that these injuries or this pain sensation that you feel did not happen overnight. It took years for it to get into this clusterfuck scenario. And to unclusterfuck it, it takes years again, right? And that's the harsh reality. But the reward is its own reward, right? You know, removing the pain is the best reward you can get when you're stuck in pain. So that's what you have to look forward to, but you cannot feel for quite some time. So one day at a time. The other thing I would advise for anyone that doesn't have chronic pain and was thinking about trying it, don't. Simply do not. Simply don't. It is not fun at all. You have to keep some sort of mental sanity. You have to keep a hold. You got to keep a grip somehow. Be kind to yourself and do whatever you feel you got to do in order to solve these problems. It's tough, But again, it's the conscious effort, it's the stretching and reactivating of every single muscle. And the more you get back, the more you have, more function you have. The more you work on, the more function you have, and the easier it gets, the less overall pain you have, until finally you have crawled your way out of chronic pain and you function like a normal person, right? You function normally. That's the goal, right? That's what I'm still working on. That's what I'm hoping um, I can do by the end of the year. I'm hoping this is the year that the pain finally fades into normal, into just normal sensation, and I'm able to do basic functioning tasks, like going, anything, working a job. I mean, there is no job that I can work with this amount of pain. Anything I do for long periods of time is bad, right? I'm propped up by this chair, this couch, right? This is not good for me to sit here and do this, but I'm learning. I've learned how to handle these scenarios. I'm stretching as I'm sitting here. I'm trying to get my calves to fire. They still haven't. They don't adapt, right? I work on it every day. They do adapt, but it takes time. They don't adapt when you want it. They don't adapt all at once. It takes time. You have to keep coming back to them. The body moves, the fascia moves, the connective tissue moves on its own, and the tension can shift to different spots. And you just keep working on it, keep helping it. You're just helping it along. That's all you're doing, helping it along. It'll clean itself up in time, but you have to help it along. That's the adaptation. So hopefully I'm able to do that. Hopefully I'm months away from doing that. I mean, obviously faster would be better, but I can't I can't reasonably predict how long it's going to take, because there's the feeling doesn't tell me. I know it's slow. I know there's still a lot in here that has to be worked on, but it does feel like I'm getting closer. And some things actually feel better than they used to feel. Certain stretches and stuff are actually easier than they were my whole life, which is really weird, right? So I have chronic pain, I have tension in all these other areas, but then certain stretch, I'm like, I can do this better than I could even in school and high school and stuff. I always I always had tension somewhere, but I didn't have any awareness of how to correct these problems. I didn't think they were correctable. I just, like, feeling is what I feel. Like, I don't know. I didn't think you could have executive function and override your feelings or whatever. I don't know. I didn't really I didn't really have a concept of that. Yeah. It was something else. Not sure if I'll think of it. Yeah, I should take this as far as I can, even if I regain enough function to be able to hold a job. I should probably wait at least a few more months and keep working on it and try to condition the body. Just keep stretching until I think like I've made more progress. I have no curve in my neck. I know that. And I do have a Denerol, which can help restore the curve. I haven't been using it because I think my tissue is so messed up that I need to wait for my tissue to realign better. And then I can try stretching the spine. I don't really want to interfere with all the other stuff, so until it makes more sense. Just too much going on, too much pain. But yeah, it's something that I would like to work on as I'm taking this as far as I can. I want to see what else I can get to adapt. Definitely a lot of imbalance. I'm not sure if it's gonna keep stiffening up on me forever or what. I'm not sure. Feels like it will, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess that's my health update, my chronic pain update. I think it makes a lot. It's a lot better when things don't hurt and when you have basic functioning again. And it's definitely helpful to have that self awareness of these sensations and not think of them as scary or things you have to avoid. It's your body, right? These are things you have to listen to. So I was avoiding this stuff, and that's probably what made it as bad as it was. I got a fair amount of exercise in my childhood, and then I worked a job for 10, 12, 15 years before I stopped. And I had hardly any exercise in that time period. I mean, I go walking. I go for hikes in nature and stuff um, fairly regularly, but beyond that, I'm not doing much of anything but my job, and my body is really hurting. So, is it the job that's putting a lot of stress on the body? Is it something else? The mental processes that put stress on the body?